Okay, we've got a basic drop down going. Let's beautify. And maybe I'll try to stick sort of close to the W3 schools example so you can look back and forth at that if you need to. So I am going to do the button example, let's say, and I am going to do a green button with white text, and we'll make the drop down white or something. So yeah, this drop down is going to be a green button. So put a background color on it. Oops, spelling. Try to keep it simple here. Add some padding. Make the color white. Okay, let's see that. Nice. Mouse over. Okay, so my first trouble is I don't want this to be green, first of all. I need that to be a different color, so let's make that occur. And then also the green is extending down there, which I don't like. So, and we'll see that get worse in a minute. I predict. Let's make that a white color, and we'll make its color black for the text. Okay, save and refresh. So now when I mouse over, oh, trouble, right? Did it pick up my black text? Oh, dar. This is me not being able to multitask. Black, how about that? Okay, so yeah, trouble. So now you can see this whole element is expanding when this is showing, which kind of makes sense, right? Because content is appearing inside this green area, so it's expanding to fit. I don't want that to happen. I want this hello world to be separate from that container visually. So now we've learned how to do that, because that means I need to pull the hello world div, that whole drop-down content, I need to pull it out of the flow of the document. And we've already learned 2 ways to pull something out of the flow of the document. Number 1 is to float it, which is not what we want to do here. And number 2 is to position it using absolute positioning, which we do want to do here because we don't want to float it. That's the only other option. So I'm going to use position absolute to pull this out of its container so that we don't have this green expando problem. Let's see what that looks like. And because it's going to reveal a couple things to us. Position, here's the magic. Position absolute. Refresh. Mouse. Beautiful. And I'm getting kind of sick of hovering and mousing and stuff, so I'm going to make the mouse over stick on here by going down to the drop-down class, control click, and say for state hover, so we can see it. So that so I can mouse over other things and have that state stuck on. You'll see it show up here as a hover. So that's pretty good. It's not exactly what I want. I want to make sure that no matter what, these items are the same width. If I set a width or say a minimum width on them, I probably want them to be the same width. There's not a really good way to do this except for to set a min width that's sufficiently large. Say, I think in W3 schools they're using something like 120 pixels. So that's not a magic number, it's just a number. But the important thing is, I think they chose 120 because it was close to the size that the actual button was, but it's a little dangerous. It's less dangerous to put the same min width on both items. Let's see. So min width, let's say 150 px. Save and refresh. So that makes that happen. And then this one, see, it's still the same width it was, so I need to do the same thing to the drop-down content. Refresh. Okay, now that, so, oh, look at this. This is such a good review. So, of course, this is happening because the one up top is adding the padding on because I haven't put my usual box sizing thing on everything in the page. So let me quickly do that before I add headaches to my list of things here. This is prevent width and padding headaches. Star, box, sizing, order box. Okay, save, refresh. There we go, better. Now they're going to be, if I could see over to the right, I would say they're about the same size. Now, I have 2 things to do. Number 1 is I need to make sure that the coordinates of this box are relative to this green box. And so I'm going to add a comment to my position absolute, which you may want to add if you think you'll be looking at this later, back at this for notes, that says, remember to put position relative on the parent so that you are in the parent's coordinate system. Position relative. Okay, number 2 is I have to decide exactly where I want my left top element. So by default, so you know, position absolute, let's say I want top of 0. This is not what I want exactly, but top 0 and left 0. Let's see what happens. So at 0, 0 for both of those things, it puts it right over top of it, right? It completely overlays it. Not what I want. I like the left position, but the vertical position, I need it to be bigger than that. Now this top, I need to set in pixels, and so that may be problematic depending on your layout. If I'm setting it in pixels, I would probably want to set a min height on the parent as well, so to make sure that I know exactly where that height is. But for now, I'm going to try to keep this somewhat simple and just put a top pixel of, say, like, I don't know, 35 px. That's like 2 ems, a little bit more than 2 ems. It's a little bit much. I mean, a little bit, not quite enough. So, because I have essentially 3 ems here, 2 ems of padding up and down, and then 1 em of content. So at a 16 pixel font, that's 16 times 3, which is 48 pixels-ish. So there's my answer to myself after some quick mental math. Should place it right about at the bottom. Yep. So that's your basic drop-down. Now, if you want to beautify the W3 Schools has a nice drop shadow on there. I'm going to copy it right now so I don't have to think about it, but I'll explain what the pieces are. So box shadow will give me my drop-down. This 0 pixels means don't go over from the left any when you're making your shadow. Just stay right at the element. This says go down 8 pixels. Start the shadow 8 pixels below, like lower than usual. This says how wide the shadow is. This would be the softness of the shadow, but in this case they've chosen to do an RGBA number with an opacity set that's less than 100% opacity. So if this were a 1, it would be fully opaque. We're going to look at RGBA this week too, so I won't harp on it too much here. So that's what those numbers mean though. X, Y offset, or X offset, Y offset, width of the shadow, softness of the shadow, color of the shadow. We'll work with generators today, which is usually how I generate my shadows because I don't like to do it by hand. Does anybody? Let's put that right here. Save and refresh. Boop. So now it looks a little bit more shadowy. And then I could adjust with padding and so forth inside. Maybe I want to add 1 em of padding on the left, like I did, like so that kind of matches. Save and refresh. Yeah. There you go. Drop shadows, mystery of drop shadows revealed. So you can style to your heart's content, but those 3 steps that I did in the previous video, those are the mechanics. We'll have a chance to practice this week in the lab.